All right. Cool. So now we're live.
We're live.
And so, hey everybody. So I am Coach Sarge with TNP Hockey, and so this is one of our first ones that we're doing live interview with a nice guest, and so it'll be awesome. Where obviously TNP Hockey, so our motto right is turning potential into opportunity, trying to give players the ability to find ways, give them the tools to like keep pursuing the game, have fun, and keep growing. And so um, we have on ice skills coaches such as myself, Ivan Chukarov, my brother Garrett. We also have nutritionists that we have working with the kids as well. And now we get the opportunity to bring Coach Billy Karr to give us some background insights and potential paths like for hockey players. And so just to introduce you all to our guests, we have, again, Coach Billy Karr coaches the Roosevelt D1 ACHA team, formerly Robert Morris University. Let me know if I butcher any of these, but
so far so good.
Some awards as you've been coaching. So 2013, 2014, D3 ACHA, third place at Nationals, regional champion.
Yep.
2015, 2016, NCHL league champions. Anything else that I'm missing?
Those are all of our team awards. We also coached the Northwest Chargers. Tommy Calori and I went to Nationals, won state with them. So we've had some success at youth programs as well as when we got brought into Robert Morris, and trying to continue that here and build a program back up here at Roosevelt too. So
yeah,
we were successful because of having great players, quite
Yeah.
honestly, and guys who wanted to learn. So
well, and you guys do an awesome job of like developing people into like grown-ups and stuff like that too. So one of the things was, obviously coaching for Roosevelt, Robert Morris for 10 years now.
This is my 11th.
That's
almost.
It's a long time. That's awesome. Like, blows my mind how fast time has changed.
Right.
But before then, you mentioned coaching the Chargers. Is that it, or like wherever you coached before that?
Yeah.
As well?
So when I was, back in my teens, I was playing for the Chicago Young Americans for about 3-4 years, and was fortunate enough to coach for Midwest Elite Hockey Schools with Grant Mulvey and Kenny McCudden, who, it was a job where probably once a week I was on ice, instructing, everywhere from 6-year-old kids all the way up to, 40 to 50-year-old men who are just trying to get better. So, I've pretty much coached every level and almost every age group at some point or another. So,
yeah.
But then, Glenbard South High School, my alma mater, coached there for 4 years, and had some success there with that team, and moved on and started coaching with the Chargers after that. So kind of led me to Robert Morris, where we coached the D3 team, like you said, for about 3-4 years. Then moved up to the D2 program for about 3 years, and took over a couple years back with the D1 program here.
Yeah, that's awesome. So obviously a lot of coaching experience. Do you mind getting into like what brought you into hockey, your like background in playing, all that stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. Started with the old Downers Grove Huskies back in the day, back in the old ice arena, and with the chain link fence and all that good stuff. Played my youth there till I was about a peewee. Made the jump to TI as a second-year peewee, and then played for the Young Americans till I finished, high school. And then, fortunate enough to play at St. Norbert College in Green Bay for a cup of coffee, and finished my degree at Northern Illinois University, and actually finished playing some hockey there as well. So, once I graduated from school, a couple years after that, got into coaching the Glenbard South team, and just loved it.
Yeah,
absolutely loved it, and kind of caught the bug, so to speak.
Nice. Yeah. So you didn't do like the junior to college route?
So no. When I was a senior, I got drafted into the North American League by the Indian Junior Ice, and they folded.
Oh, really?
Late that summer, and so I was kind of at a point where I was like, well, I need to I didn't figure something out.
Yeah.
So I walked on at St. Norbert and, true freshman. So I was playing against, pretty much grown men. I was the youngest guy on the team by about 3 years.
Yeah.
And it was a culture shock, being a guy who growing up, most of the time I was relatively successful, eluding people, where all of a sudden now I'm playing against guys who are bigger and faster. It was very difficult as a true freshman, but it was, I learned so much about the game from those guys, and just, how the game really should be played, and, what it took to, take care of your body.
Yeah.
I was never a big weight guy growing up, and just like the work that you had to put in the weight room, off season, all that stuff was really something that I learned a lot when I was there, and express that to my guys here, that it's mandatory. You have to do it in order to be successul.
Yeah. Because you're not the only one in the weight room. Like everybody else is putting.
If you're not in it,
too,
somebody else is. It's that old cliche. So,
do you mind, like, I guess, so you walked on, which is awesome too, and some people might be in a situation where they're like, oh, I'm not sure if I can keep going, like this type of thing. So can you talk about like that experience of like what walking on was like?
Yeah, it was. I mean, quite honestly, I guess when you play AAA in Chicago for 4, 5+ years, you kind of are in the mindset of, I'm playing with the best, and I kind of expect that I'll make things and make teams. And so when I had the uncertainty of, hey, I got to try out to make this team, just to be, a redshirt freshman, it was pretty cool, actually, from the standpoint of, the effort that I put in, the success that I had getting to make the team, but also seeing my shortcomings as a hockey player, to see where I wanted to get, just to be in the lineup, or to, after my redshirt freshman year, to try and get some playing time. It's hard. And honestly, if I look back at it now, it was great. I could say NCAA, D3, whatever. But the ACHA really hadn't taken shape like it has now. So there's so many guys, like, for example, that I'm recruiting now, that are having to make that decision. Like, do I go NCAA D3 and be a redshirt freshman, or can I go to an ACHA Division I, Division II program and walk in there on day one and have a role right away, or have a contributing role, something that, you don't always have as a NCAA player, because quite honestly, they recruit a lot. They get a lot of players in. So it's not as easy to crack the lineup as a true freshman.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's cool, right? Like, it sounds like it's kind of on them what decision they want to make, if they want to like wait that out, or if they want to make the jump and go right away and start seeing like game time situations.
100%.
You talked about like Kenny McCudden and some of the other great coaches. Anybody else that like sticks in your mind, and like why you love them so much? Some of the things that like man, I'll never forget when he said this, or like some of the things you took away from those coaches.
I played for the same guy with the Young Americans for like 4 years. His name was Rick Harris, and he was just an old school, tough coach, hard nosed. Knew the game really well. Taught me a lot about just the game in general, but just leave it there. And just kind of taught me the game, taught us all the game on the little aspects of hockey. And that was a team where we won nationals, which
that's great. That's awesome.
Every guy in that team played college hockey. Some played in the NHL. So we had a lot of talent, but he really held us accountable, quite honestly, to all the little details of the game. He was a hard-nosed guy. Like, he, I don't think the way that we were coached when we were that age would work these days, so to speak.
Sense.
It's not that it wasn't a good way to coach. It's just, I think it was just different generation. I think players now react a little bit more to players' coaches, so to speak.
Being personable.
Not that yelling is the worst thing in the world, but a lot of times guys nowadays lose the message. Sometimes. So, you got to kind of pick your spots. But Rick was, he was a great coach for me, for sure. And the best coach I ever had in my life was my dad. A lot of my coaching, I don't know what you want to call
Style,
it. Style.
I guess.
The way I talk to people, the way way I sometimes get frustrated with guys. I'm just like, oh my God, it's my dad. Like, he used to make me, he was a baseball coach, so it wasn't a hockey thing, but if somebody made a mental mistake, I always ended up getting the brunt of their mental mistake, which was hilarious. But, his guidance and just the way he coached really made mental aspect of baseball or hockey for my examples were really important. Those little details. You can win hockey games. You can be a good hockey player, even if you don't have as much talent per se as some of the other guys you're playing against. But if you have attention to detail, if you have a strong character, strong work ethic, all those things are huge. And you can still be successful. And quite honestly, coaches will see that and really kind of take to you. I have guys that I've coached and are coaching now that I'm like, I wish I had 23 of those guys on my team.
Yeah.
Because that's what you want to kind of have your team emulate.
So not so much a skill thing, but like a mentality type thing sometimes.
Yeah. You can have a guy with a ton of skill who's got no character, no drive, and is afraid of certain areas on the ice that, you could get more out of a guy who's not afraid, will go in those areas and will develop his talent and turn into a better hockey player.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And no, that's a good message for sure. Just transitioning back to like Roosevelt, where you are now, like how did you get to hear from like the Chargers? Do you want to talk about that transition at all?
Sure. Yeah. So, my best friend Tommy Clordy and I coached together with the Chargers for a couple of years and had 2 years in a row where we won the leagues and we won state and we went to nationals, and we had an unbelievable group of guys. Some of the guys that you ended up playing hockey with at Robert Morris. So, we got looked at here by Tom Wendlandt, and they brought us in to be the Division III coaches. We took over a 7-21 team, I believe. And, I think it was a program that just didn't have at that level, I should say, just didn't have, I don't know, I guess accountability could be one thing. Didn't treat them like they were important, or treat them like, I shouldn't say important.
Just respect.
Didn't hold them to a different level.
Yeah.
And we did on day one, and I'll never forget Tommy and I sitting by the penalty box watching you guys skate. And we looked at each other like, what the hell did we get ourselves into? Like, look at these guys. And a year later, you guys were 35-6, I believe, and went to the national tournament, beat the best team in the country. Finished third. We took that role at the D3 level. Then we got bumped up to the D2 level, and took a lot of the guys up with us from the D3 team who, will always kind of be our boys. That group. You were part of that group, and had some success there as well. So, it was, like I said, you can say all you want about the coaches, but it was the same group of guys who just loved being with each other, playing with each other, respected the coaches, respected the culture, wanted to build the culture, and was successul because of it.
So that's awesome. Mm-hmm. Getting more into like the team and how you like build things, and like I obviously everybody that I played with saw this too, but like how do you like to build your teams, especially being in like the position that you're in now?
Yeah, well, we're in the middle of building our D1 team back. When we were Robert Morris University 5 years ago, the Division I team was one of the best teams in the country every year. I took it over. We had a year where we got to the quarterfinals and nationals, which was great. And then a year after that where we just missed. And then COVID hit. And that really derailed us from a numbers standpoint. Lost a lot of returners, a lot of recruits. So the last 2 years it's been a rebuild, quite honestly. So we started, we were as high as can be, and, as low as can be too. And now we're working our way back up. Had a couple of good recruiting seasons. I think we need probably one more good one here. And, we're right on the cusp of being a really good hockey team. We're, our locker room, you talk about building a team, I wanted a team that had character. I wanted a team that wanted to be together, kind of like your group.
Yeah.
If your locker room is good and guys love being together, they want to work for each other. They want to work for you. So that's where we're at. We got a great group here. We're taking our lumps against some pretty good teams, but we're also winning some games, and the improvement is noticeable week to week for sure.
Yeah.
And the way that they practice is, the level of practice right now is great. So,
Yeah.
Even when
Fast paced.
real fast paced, but still learning how to win hockey games.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, but we're not far away.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
You talked on recruiting. I guess what are some of the things that you look for, like when you recruit, reaching out to recruits? Like, what's the process look like?
I mean, I just talked to about 8 recruits this week, and you obviously watch. We watch a lot of game film, a lot of video on guys because we can't be everywhere, obviously, because we're in season. But I look for the little things. I look for guys who finish hits. I look for guys who are strong on the wall. I look for guys who stop on pucks. I look for guys who are strong on their skates and stick. Obviously, everybody looks for guys who can score. Okay, that's great. But, how many scoring lines are you going to have?
Yeah.
Probably 2, maybe 3. I look for guys who are going to be good role players, guys that can kill penalties. And then when you talk to them on the phone, to me, it's a huge thing. And I don't think a lot of this gets put to the forefront. Can they speak to you like an adult? Are they personable? That matters.
Yeah.
Guys that I've talked to, guys who it's like I'm trying to pull things out of them on the phone, like they are. It almost sounds like they're not interested, which maybe some are, but even the ones that are interested, it's like, come on, guys, have some pep in it. Like guys that are polite. Those are guys that you're like, okay, this kid gets it. He's a polite kid. He's obviously got character. We talk to the coaching staffs that they play for, find out about what kind of person they are.
Yeah.
We ask about their academics, like how'd they do in high school? Are they kids that are going to be able to come here and be successful in the classroom for 4 or 5 years? Because if they're not,
That's huge. Yeah.
well, it's huge because when they're ineligible, they're doing nobody any good.
Yeah.
Especially themselves first. And then obviously the team, if you can't use them, it's like, well, I got to find somebody who I can count on because you really do. You have to be able to count on them from that standpoint, most importantly.
Yeah.
Academically. So.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I see, like you talked about kids that like come up to you, approach you, be able to talk to you. And I feel like I see a lot of that, like with some of the kids that I work with on my team, and that stands out for sure. Like, hey, is this kid willing to talk to me? Say he wants like more ice time, and like, all right, that's cool. You want that, but like, why do you think you deserve that type of thing?
Yeah.
And, like, have a conversation about it.
Yeah. You want players that know how to convey their thoughts and in the right way. You don't want a kid that's going to come in and, tell you what he wants. You want a kid that's going to come in and tell you, hey, what can I do to earn this?
Yeah.
What can I do to get better here? What are you seeing? Those are the guys that you're like, I want to make him better. I want to work with this kid. I want to get him to that level where he can play more, so those are the kind of players, people that quite honestly, you want to go to bat for as a coach in particular. And the other aspect of it is at some point, hockey's going to end for everybody. It just does. So especially for the guys that I have here at the college, it's, hey, I want them to grow up here in the next 4 or 5 years, be great hockey players, whatever. That's great. I want them to leave here being good men who are going to go out and get good jobs and work hard, maybe get married, maybe have families.
Yeah.
Take some of the experiences that hopefully I was able to tell them about or teach them and carry that over to their personal life. So when they're 45 years old like me and they sit back and they can look back and go, man, being with coach those 4 years and the boys for those 4 or 5 years were some of the best years of my life. I learned a ton. I matured. It prepared me for what is really important, which is, my
life,
post-hockey life, quite honestly.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Just to speak on that a little bit too, like my 4 years here, like I have friends that I'll always have, and we're like a core group of guys. And I think a lot of things that you and at the time, like Coach Tom, like built, and definitely took a lot of those lessons, and was able to like just main theme. I feel like it was always battling adversity and how you like overcome that stuff. and how you deal with it. So that was like one of the biggest things that I learned too.
Yeah, I mean, nothing is going to go smoothly all the time. That's just not life. You know, It is 100% on how you deal with it, and how you come through it. Do you have people that you can rely on? Do you have a coach that maybe you played for years ago that you can call and bounce things off like we do? Some of the guys that your group of guys are still as thick as thieves. I mean, you're going to your weddings now and seeing kids and all. I mean, it's probably the most rewarding thing for myself, and I know Coach Tommy too, just to see how you guys are still tight. And that you use that experience to, still stay together and still, have that group of friends that are close and have each other's backs still. So it's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
special.
Nice. I'll be conscious. I know we got to get to practice, but last two questions. Like when you're coming into challenges and obviously not the greatest weekend, but what are some of the things that you lean on in times of challenges, and then moving forward, what are some of your goals? What are you trying to accomplish here?
I mean, you have to put things in perspective as a coach, obviously. I mean, would you love to go to the national tournament every year? Yes. Would you like to be, significantly over 500 and win league championships? Yes. Does that happen all the time? No. Teams go through cycles and that's, part of it too. But I think what I look at, and this weekend, against Grand Valley, was a tale of two different teams. The outcome was the same. We lost both games. The one game was just an absolute drubbing, but we took a bunch of things from that game and looked at it for the next game and said, positionally, compete wise, little things that we needed to improve on. We did that the next night, still lost, but it was a totally different feel. The boys felt it themselves. They learned from it. So little lessons, even if it's just, hey, I want our F3 to be up top. Simple things that, I saw it happen the entire game from multiple guys. So it's all right, hey, listen, that's a building block. So you got to take a bunch of building blocks to get back to a level of, being a national contending team, quite honestly. And, I don't think we're there yet, obviously, but it just takes one more good year possibly, and a group that's bought in, and anything can happen. So, that's the way I look at things. And the challenges are, sometimes you have to eat a bunch of losses to eventually start earning a lot of wins.
Yeah. Sometimes you gotta lose to learn how to win. Yeah.
It makes the wins feel that much better.
Yeah,
for sure.
And then just the last part, I guess, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but what are you looking for moving forward?
I just want to get Roosevelt back on the map to where Robert Morris University was. There was a 20-year culture at Robert Morris, and there was a lot of success in that program. And I want to make sure when I leave Roosevelt, whenever that is, that the program is back to or exceeded that level.
Yeah.
And, working hard to get there. Feel real good about the direction we're going in, even though, sometimes you look at scores and you're like, what's going on here? Well, but in perspective, you got to look at it and say, well, I've got these pieces coming in, or I have these pieces here. Here's where I've seen the improvements, and here's where I know we can get with this group. And, so next couple years here are going to be really exciting times for the program. And I think we can get back to, competing for a national tournament. So I'm excited about it. So are the boys.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, that's all I got. Thanks a lot. And like I said, you built something awesome here. And, I know all the guys that I went to school with. We love you. So
feelings
thanks a lot for
mutual.
everything.
You bet. Love you, man.
Love you too.